What is a survival myth that is completely wrong and could get you killed? The YouTube videos on how to unarm an attacker from close range. You'll die before you can yell yeehaw. Yet if you have not trained extensively in real self-defense, you should never try to fight an armed opponent. Just give them what they want or run. Those videos usually have the person letting the moves be put on them very easily, when in reality a lot of those moves need to be executed at extremely fast speed with practiced precision. Otherwise you will just end up in a wrestling match against someone with a knife, which usually won't end well. The first mistake is to look for food and water first before having a shelter up to keep yourself dry and warm. Edit. When I say shelter first, it includes having a fire too, which I forgot to mention. When you are wet and exposed to the elements, your core body temperature can drop and you can get hypothermia if it gets too cold, and you would burn more calories than necessary. A big reason to building a shelter too is to also keep yourself off the ground, because the ground is an infinite heat sink, which means you lose your body heat way faster than you would think and will be more exposed to the cold elements. Guys, yes, it's good to be near a water source, but remember that it's always colder around rivers, streams, lakes, and oceans. Make sure you are able to easily gather shelter fire material within the area. Plus finding a prime location to set up shelter. I feel like a book RN. Thanks for the silver. Shelter, water, food, in that order. If you ever find yourself in snake country, make as much noise as possible. Most people want to avoid snakes, so stay quiet, but they are more scared of you than you are of them. Talk loudly, stomp, but obviously keep an eye and ear out for any fellas who don't want you to be there. Source: Australian. If you have to forage for food, avoid mushrooms entirely. Odds are so slim you will find an edible kind that you're much better off looking for things like nuts, seeds, and berries. Edit. This is not the myth. This is the truth. They also hold negligible amounts of calories, so even if you are knowledgeable about fungi, it still isn't worth it. Guess the only scenario where you might go for it is if you have knowledge on edible mushrooms and stumble upon a grove full of them. Rescue breaths are wildly overrated in most movies and TV shows. You'll see someone in cardiac arrest, and the rescuer will stop giving compressions and focus on breathing into a person's mouth and blammo. Awake, alert, alive. No, don't do that. Your body does store a fairly decent amount of oxygen in its blood at all times. If someone in front of you ODs and their mouth is covered with saliva, vomit, or someone collapses in front of you of a suspected cardiac arrest, your plan of action is twofold. 1. Are they breathing? Do they have a pulse? This is easy to fuck up, especially in a moment of panic. My rule, as an EMS provider, is that if you don't feel it in 10 seconds, it's not there. Start compressions. If they are not in cardiac arrest, they will let your ass know. And the law covers you under Good Samaritan clauses in most of these cases too if you are the only person attending to this body. Do not stop and give rescue breaths if help is on the way and will be there soon. It takes about 4-7 decent compressions to get blood recirculating in the body after stopping to give mouth to mouth. That's a lot of blood, carrying a lot of vital oxygen reserves that aren't making it to the brain. Obviously, if you're a long way out from help, and you feel safe to do so, give rescue breaths, but it should never be priority number 1. BTW, if you hear ribs crack, make a face, make vomit noises if you have to, tell the person their bones are fucking grossing you out, but don't stop compressions. Because what are compressions? That's right, they are number fucking 1. Herbivorous animals are friendly and peaceful, so you are safe being around them, and their presence will show you where food is. Seriously, everything from cows to deer can and will kill you if you make it angry. It is usually a good idea if you are in the wilds not to get near any large wild animal, but herbivores can often be even more aggressive than the predators. If a predator attacks you, you have a fairly good chance of scaring it off, especially if it's smaller than you, because it's likely only looking for food. If a herbivore attacks you, you're fucked because it genuinely wants to kill you. If you get stabbed with anything, Don't pull it out since it could be the thing that preventing you from bleeding out. Instead, immobilize it and go to the hospital where they can stop the bleeding when they remove the object. It won't kill you, but don't pee on a jellyfish sting. It will actually release more of the toxin. Pee directly on the jellyfish to show dominance. Vinegar is really good for those stings. So vinegar is good, pee is bad? Yeah, it's the same rule for salads, by the way. Don't eat snow to stay hydrated if you're in a winter survival situation. Losing the heat to the snow while eating it is more dangerous than dehydration. Heat it up or let it melt in a container first to lose less heat. Follow flying birds to find water. They can simply be flying to spend a night anywhere, so we can't rely on them. Fish are the ones you should follow to find water. That's why I always carry a goldfish on desert expeditions. Don't stand underneath doorways in case of earthquakes. Doors and door frames are just not made the same anymore, so you're more likely to sustain more serious injuries if you do. You're better off staying hidden underneath a desk or table. My computer desk fell apart in my hands trying to move it. Not just doorways are made poorly. Closest I can think of is brace yourself if you are about to get in an accident. Try to go limp. You're more likely to walk away with minor injuries if you go limp. That's how drunk drivers survive crashes. Heard a story of a guy who got caught up in a tornado. Right before the tornado sucked him in, he got hit in the face with a vase, which knocked him unconscious. The tornado then threw him onto the ground a couple miles away. He survived with only some minor scratches and bruises.